are now plugged into Hooked on Science with Bruce and Tom Kong.
And we're live.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to a very special episode of Hooked on Sonics. I am Bruce, and as always, everyone's brother from another mother, the Toe Capone. This week, our very special guest is one of the most dynamic and powerful artists in country music today. Her latest album, entitled Baptized by the Blaze, is laden with strong subject matter, powerful imagery, and maybe her most personal album yet. After listening to her, you may all agree with me that she deserves to be included in the conversations as best songwriters, such as Dolly Parton, John Prine, and Townes Van Zandt. Everyone, please welcome the lovely and talented India Ramey. India, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Awesome.
So, Baptized by the Blaze came out just a couple months ago. And this is, you have kind of considered this your empowerment album.
Mhm.
You had some struggles kind of going through this from the time that the previous album, Shallow Graves, came into this. Kind of set the stage for us, like what was going on during that time as you were deciding to, start writing these songs.
Well, I'm a trauma survivor. I was a child of domestic violence, and I've spent a great part of my life trying to deny the fact that I had PTSD. And uh, I had become physically addicted to a tranquilizer that I was taking for panic disorder. Because I had pretty debilitating panic attacks. Like it was really hard for me to drive or work or anything. And I had a doctor prescribe Klonopin for me every day, and I took it every day as directed for 12 years, and had no idea that it was highly, highly addictive. So during the pandemic, I was trying to come off of it because I didn't know, when I was going to be able to go to the doctor because we were all locked in our houses.
Mm.
And I tried to self taper off of it, and it just went horribly. I mean, it was just like one of the scariest, most awful, excruciating, terrifying things I've ever been through. And it was a big wake up call for me that I needed to confront my trauma, and I needed to try to heal it without popping a pill every day. So I started doing the heavy lifting of trauma recovery therapy. I got with a therapist through BetterHelp.com, and started talking to her once a week, every week, and started really doing some really, really hard work. And a lot of a lot of these songs came out of that time period, and some of those songs were even aftercare exercises after my therapy session.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of, I mean, there's pretty much the full spectrum of the pain and struggle and healing and humor that I found in all of it. I mean, because humor is my favorite trauma response. So um, there's some of that in it too. But there's a there's a lot. There's so much of me in this album.
Yeah, for sure. Um, I got to tell you, you mentioned the Klonopin. One of my really good friends, he was a roadie for a pretty popular band back in the '90s, and they got into San Francisco one time, and he was used to Percocets, and
Mhm.
he was looking for something like a Percocet. And the girl he was talking to, she says, "Well, I don't have those, but I got these Klonopins." And he's like, "Okay." So he was used to taking like 4 or 5 Percocets, no big deal. Well, he took five or six of those Klonopins.
Oh God.
Long story short, 6 days later, he woke up in
Oh,
Seattle
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
I remember you
He
telling me this
was,
you just told me the story today.
yeah, he was, I mean, he was literally walking dead on his feet. And, they just let him kind of try to work through it, but
Yeah.
like he had no recollection of anything. So
Yeah. It's a really
I know that stuff's serious.
it's a powerful drug, and doctors give it out like Tic Tacs, and they give it out in different forms. Like it's a class of drugs called benzodiazepines, and Xanax is in that class of drugs too. And I know a lot of people who take Xanax, and it has its purpose for a very limited time, but nobody should ever be
Mhm.
taking it every day for 12 years, no matter how low the dose is. Because I was on like the lowest dose they make. But
Yeah.
still, I mean, coming off of that, I had a harder withdrawal from that than the heroin addicts and the crack addicts that were in my treatment program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I
And
could
it's
tell you,
wild. And it's legal.
and
Yeah.
well, Bruce knows. I mean, I make no bones about it. I'm a recovering addict. I've been, I quit all hard drugs at 22. I'm 48 now.
Mhm.
I do still occasionally like a good glass of bourbon. I do, um, instead of pain medication because I live with a lot of pain because of my back
Mhm.
neuropathy in my legs. I also deal with a lot of social anxiety disorders and uh, medical disorders as far as psychoactive stuff. I've run the gauntlet of the psychoactive drugs, and it's always been my opinion that when treating psychoactive disorders, it's medicate and sedate, medicate and sedate, medicate and sedate. And there's no real solving the problem. But anyways, I've pretty much stick to my green meds
Yeah.
and bourbon. So
Yeah.
That's a song title somewhere. Green
Yeah.
Meds and
We had
Bourbon.
some bourbon.
yeah. Hey, it might be her new single. We might have just handed her over a new single.
That's right. That's right. So I have a question for you on that. So there's a lot of artists that, as they're kind of recovering through whatever substance, there's this fear that a lot of them have that, well, I've been writing these songs, I've been performing essentially fucked up for all this time. Was it for you? Was there any kind of fear of, well, what if I'm not able to write as good as songs? What if, anything like that?
There was fear, but it was a different kind of fear because like when I took Klonopin, I didn't take it to it did I never took enough for it to make me feel high or euphoric or anything like that. I took Klonopin to feel normal. So it didn't really have an effect on my behavior or my art or my creativity other than it squelched my creativity. Like the muse
Mm,
only came to me every now and then, and so like um now that I'm not on it, I'm writing so much more and so much more often, and I feel like my writing is better um in so many ways because I can think clearer. The fear was different. I was having withdrawals, I tremored really badly. And I tremored for months. And so my hands shook so bad, I was afraid that I would never be able to play again. So there was that fear. And for several months too, I had a lot of cognitive difficulties from having gone through the withdrawal process because my nervous system had been suppressed for 12 years. And so when you take the Klonopin away, your nervous system doesn't know how to function and it freaks out. So I lost some vocabulary and I lost a lot of, I'm a smart person. I was in the gifted program when I was little, and I was not as smart for about a year.
mm,
It took me a while to get some of my words back and to get um the fog to lift. So my fear um am I ever going to be normal again? Am I ever going to be
Yeah.
myself again?
Yeah. Um, did it, as you're going through the process, what did like did you feel a breakthrough? Like, was there a specific song you're like, okay, I'm back? Like, as you're writing it, you're like, okay, everything's good.
Baptized by the Blaze. I wrote that.
Mm,
I was watching something on TV, and it was, a very like turnaround moment for whatever was going on in that situation. And I identified so much with it. I was like finally feeling like I was getting on the other side of it. And I was, starting to be able to feel happiness again and feel joy again. And um, I was like, I feel like I feel like a phoenix. I feel like when the phoenix makes a deliberate decision to build its own funeral pyre, get in it, and set itself on fire so that it can be reborn as its higher self. Like that's what I felt like. And so I just came in
yeah.
office and sat down and wrote Baptized by the Blaze.
Well, let me tell you something. As far as
Wow.
that album
It's a
goes, it's a phenomenal album. We rate scale on a scale of 1 to 10, and I had to go back and take a look at what I gave it. I remember I did give it a good score. I gave it a solid 8, which in the fair scheme of things, if you were doing 5 stars, you'd say 4 stars. But in
Mhm.
my scale of things, I always tell Bruce, if it ranks between a 7 to an 8, it's a good album. If it
Yeah.
ranks an 8 or above, I'm going to check out more from the artist.
Mhm.
And Bruce and I were kind of checking out, and as we were vetting some of your information, was it the Snake Charmer album? Is that the name of that album?
Snake Handler.
Snake. Oh
mhm.
man, oh love that
Snake
album
handler.
too. It was solid, solid stuff. And I think I messaged him. I said, "Man, she just doesn't miss, does she? She's just on the money for her sound and really kind of she." And we often talk about an artist's DNA, whether it be a guitar player's DNA. Like if you listen to a solo, you know that's Eddie Van Halen or that's Kirk Hammett from Metallica. Or if you hear someone's vocals, you go their vocal DNA. You'll know if this is James Hetfield or if it's Judas Priest or whatever, Rob Halford. You'll know
Mhm.
that vocal DNA. Your vocal DNA is very unique and I really, really, really like your delivery. I love your tongue in cheekness and the stuff that you put through in the song, but the seriousness that's also behind it. And it's just like not many people can pull off speak into someone from experience and helping them understand experience. Like Jelly Roll does a good way of speaking to the people. There are artists out there who can speak to the people and go, bypass all the BS, go straight to the heart of the person and get and have them see these things. And you're one of those type of artists, and that's one of the things I had noticed listening to the tracks. It's just like, why is she just not like what's going on? Why is she not in the position where we can really see her at the forefront of women in country music? And it's the same thing with Emmy Sunshine. This young lady is so wonderfully talented,
Mhm.
but I think she's been on The Voice or American Idol once, maybe once or twice, but you don't really
Yeah.
hear people talking about her. You know what I mean? At least not in the circles of country music people that I know. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
It's
the one thing that you guys have in common is you guys really bring back that classic sound of what real country music is. Like the real what made country music. It's not poppy. It's not like bro country and stuff. You know what I mean? Like all
yeah.
that stuff's cool, but this is down to the roots, guitar in hand, cowboy chords, let it roll. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not a huge fan of pop country. It's not my jam. I like when I get into country music, the kind of country music that lights me up when I'm listening to it is, Johnny Cash and Loretta Lynn and Buck Owens and that sort of vibe. So that's kind of where I exist.
And you do it well.
Yeah.
You do it very well.
So, yeah, oh, fantastic. So I guess one of my questions I wanted to ask was, you are living in Nashville.
Mhm.
You're in that machine every day. How do you survive? How have you made your niche in the machine?
Well, I tell people that when I quit my day job to do this full time, I, I approached it as an artist first, obviously, but I also approached it as, I have the mind frame that I've opened a small business. I'm a small business owner.
Hmm.
And so, as a small business owner, I make sure that I'm doing something to further my business and to make my business better and more, you know, um, more profitable every day. I get up and I come up with ideas and I post on social media. And so, like, really just being consistent and diligent and, working on the business side consistently and working on the art side and always demanding better of myself as an artist. That's sort of what keeps me going. Um, and I mean, on top of that, nobody can obsess like I can. And so I'm obsessed with this. Like I cannot not write songs. So I may as well, try to make a living at
Yeah,
it.
might as well. So your songwriting process, are you okay, from 8 to 5, I am sitting in this room and I'm writing, or you just something hits and you write it down and that's how you go at it?
Yeah, that's really how I go at it. Like, I exercise a lot for my mental health, and those are really good times for me to kind of like quiet my brain so that it can be open to inspiration and ideas. So a lot of the times, like on my walks, on my daily walks, I'll get an idea, and I'll come home and I'll write down the idea, or I'll put it in my notes on my phone. Or if I get a melody, I'll record it on my iPhone.
Mhm.
And then when I have the time, when I get, I'm also the housekeeper here. So when I get like, to a quiet time where all the day-to-day things are done, I'll sit down with that idea or that melody and follow it and see where it takes me.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I don't know, if you've ever heard this famous story, about, Towns Van Zandt when he wrote, "If I Needed You,"
Mhm.
where he just got up one day, he just got up one morning, went to Guy Clark and played the song. He's like, "Dude, where'd you come up with that?" He's like, "I thought of it in my sleep." And I mean, he just wrote it
Yeah.
down and that was it. It was like, my God.
Yeah.
I wish I had that kind of brain, that inspiration that you and Towns and John Prine have, because it's just your songwriting's absolutely amazing.
Thank you. And I think songwriting for me, like I've always just been I was hyperverbal. Like I started talking when I was just a baby before a lot of kids start talking. And I like whenever I would do like my standardized testing in school, like my verbal would be like 99th percentile and the math would be like quit school. But I say that because like I am truly fascinated by language
Mm.
and words and how certain phrases can be emotive. Like they can emote all of these feelings inside of you just with a combination of three or four words. And so I'm always like paying attention to what kind of like, emotional or visceral reaction I have to a grouping of words. And if I have one, there's a song there and I'll follow it where it goes.
Yeah. Do you ever
Nice.
give yourself goosebumps when you're writing a line? You're like, "Oh shit, that's
Yeah.
really good."
That smile on
Yeah.
her face says everything right there. She said
Yeah.
she's done it a few times.
Yeah. It's like, I think maybe that's why I'm obsessed. I think I'm in it for the dopamine, like whenever you really put a good phrase together, a good line, um, I don't have a lot of ego, but I enjoy those moments, where it really comes together and it feels good. Just feels good.
I get it.
Yeah.
I was with my band for 20 years here locally in Columbus. We did pretty well for ourselves, but I'll tell you what, I tell Bruce all the time, and I know he's felt it because we've invited him up on stage when we've played. And there's no, I don't care. I've done just about every drug under the sun when I was younger. There is no drug like performing and getting that crowd response and them loving you for what you've created.
Yeah.
There's just no better high on the face of the planet. And I know Bruce would come up and do cover songs with us, and he knows what it feels like to get up there and feel that, just that rush of, they loved me getting up there and having a good time doing my thing. You know what I mean? It's just
Yeah.
there's no better high in the world, man.
Yeah.
And it's just mm.
Yeah. I'm a big believer in energy, like we're all made up of the same stuff. And when you're in a room like that and you're playing music, you know, you're you're feeding each other your energy. It's an exchange of energy. And the music kind of sets the tone or the vibration for it. It's kind of a existential experience.
No, for
Yes.
sure. So latest album, Baptized by the Blaze. What are some of your favorite songs right now, and has those favorite songs changed, from the beginning to now?
Especially
Uh,
since you've gotten out and performed them.
yeah, so right now my favorites are um probably like one of my favorites to perform from the album is Down for the Count.
That's a
And
great one.
and I loved that song when I wrote it, but it wasn't one of like my top five when we made the album. Like I was like, it's good. It should go on the album. But now like when I perform it, it's so fun to perform it. And it really when I was talking about certain country music lights me up, like I feel like I get lit up by that one. Um, and I love the mountain, and I've always loved the mountain. That's probably my favorite one on the album.
No, it's a very powerful song. Um, while we're talking about it, is there any chance that you could play that for us?
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
Um, I happen to have a guitar right here.
Well, how
Why,
about that?
why are our female guests always cool and down to go, hey, yeah, I'll go ahead and jam, but we can't get none of our male guests to get on and jam.
Oh, really? Did they get shy?
No, I think there's just too many of them when they usually come on.
Maybe it's because I don't
No.
know. Like women are people pleasers too. We're like, yeah, yeah, I'll do it, no problem.
Like, oh shit, what did I get myself into?
Yeah. Um, so
I'll tell
which
you
one do you want to hear? Do you want to hear the mountain?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. All right.
what you got, a Gibson Jumbo there.
This is a Gibson Elvis Dove.
Nice, nice.
Wow.
It's new, and I sold every guitar that I had to get it.
I
Um,
I understand that.
worth
I
it.
I have I have 13 guitars behind me right now,
Yeah.
and I have a ton of Epiphone guitars. I would still love to get myself a real Gibson Les Paul.
This is now my only guitar.
Well,
Wow.
was it worth it?
Totally. It was
Okay.
totally worth it. And I'm gonna buy another like backup, to just to have in case of emergency. But this one set me back like about four guitars and some money. So,
I know that feeling.
we're gonna let that cool off for a little while.
That's right.
Yeah. So this song was an aftercare exercise after therapy. Because I was having one of those days that you have in trauma therapy where you feel like you're just a total failure at therapy because you're triggered and depressed and you don't want to get out of bed. And I was like, I've been in therapy for a year. Like I should be getting better. And my therapist was like, she was like, you've got to stop judging yourself. Like you're piling shame on top of trauma. And you're in an avalanche. And she was like, those are going to happen. Like you're not going to not have avalanches as you start to get better, but it doesn't mean that you're not getting better. And my therapist is she's so great. Like she's so caring and so nurturing. And she said, even though you're in an avalanche, you have to remember that when the avalanche is over, you are the source and you are the foundation. You're the mountain. And that was the most empowering thing anybody's ever said to me. And in a moment where I did not feel powerful at all of a sudden I felt extremely powerful. So I have my therapist Autumn to thank for this song.
I don't know if we're picking up the audio.
The wind, it blew on in and it tore into my skin. And the snow set your head low, thought it might crush my bones. But I've been here all these years, avalanches come and go. And though they carve the scars I show, I still stand. I am the mountain. The stones fall on pieces of me in their toe. And the dust follows my wanderlust with the slightest wind dust. And the rain hits like whips and chains, and yet I still remain. I'll take the pain time and again. I still stand. I am the mountain. But I've been here all these years. I still stand. I am mountain.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Thank you. That was amazing.
Thank you very much. That was I just got done listening to the album again yesterday, as a matter of fact, while I was listening to Snake Handler. So I was actually vetting everything yesterday because we thought we were going to get down yesterday and then the storms were rolling through. So but yeah, fantastic song. I think if I had to say my favorite track on the album was probably Piece of My Mind. And I think that was one of Bruce's favorites too, man. There's what's that line in there, Bruce? It's I give you a piece of my mind, but it's dark in there sometimes. Just boom, man, is what a powerful line.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wrote that song because back when I was working with my first manager, somebody in the music industry was giving him advice to pass along to me. And the piece of advice was like maybe not talk about the fact that you used to be a lawyer, because I used to be a lawyer. And they were and my manager was like, why? And they were like, well, I mean, like if people find out that she used to be a prosecutor, they're gonna think that this is all just a vanity project. And
Eh,
yeah, and that made me really mad because I have been through horrible stuff in my life. And just because of a job that I had and a job where I was helping people, thank you. That guy wanted to take that one snapshot of me and deny me the rest of my story as an artist and as a human being. And I took offense to that. So I ended up writing Piece of My Mind to just be like, this is me. And there's a lot to me that you have no idea. You have no idea what I've been through. And how dare you deny me my story?
pardon
Yeah.
my French, but I wouldn't exactly say the music you write is vanity project shit.
Right, right. Thing. I was like, also, like, you can tell when you listen to an artist whether or not it's a vanity project. Is it good or not? And that's all that matters. Like, I feel like the music industry and even as fans, like, I'm a music fan, and I think I've been guilty of this probably before too, where we expect artists to have a particular story or a particular experience, like we want everybody to be like, yeah, I was busking in New Orleans for 5 years and then I lived in a van and or like or I grew up in the Opry and came up all the like it seems like there are only like 3 or 4 life scenarios that artists are allowed to have. And that's ridiculous because artists are human beings and what we bring to our art is our human experience. And I'm certainly more of a human experience than a job.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So, what was your passion first, law or music?
Music.
Okay.
Yeah. When I was a little girl, I would sing Pat Benatar for my family when they came home, when I got home from school. And I mean, my grandmother said that I was singing before I could talk in the aisles of church when she would take me. And I told my sisters that I wanted to be a singer, and they told me I had a really bad lisp. And they were like, "You can never be a singer because you can't say your S's." And and yeah, so like I mean, I became a lawyer because I wanted to help people, and I thought that it would help me recover from my trauma. So I was a domestic violence prosecutor, but I also became a lawyer because I didn't have enough faith in myself at the time that I could be a singer or a songwriter. I didn't think that was possible for somebody like me.
Yeah.
So I didn't give myself the chance and chose the practical route, and the music won in the end of the day.
I told my wife, I
Yeah.
was talking to her before we were going to sit down for the interview, and I said, "So this lady's got a very interesting story." I said, "She was a domestic violence prosecutor and a survivor of domestic violence, and eventually became a domestic violence prosecutor, and now she's kind of left that behind to go off to do this country thing, man." And I think, and my wife's bigger into country than I am, much, much, much bigger than I am. If you ever tag us on the Facebook or see us on Facebook and you see I'm at a country show, 1,000 times out of 10, that's my wife's dragging me off to a show. Just because I mean I drag her off to like doom metal shows and stuff like that, and she'll
Yeah.
say, I've done this doom metal show. Now you owe me 3 country shows or
Yeah.
something like
India, I'm working on him. I'm working to bring him back over here. So,
No, don't
Yeah.
get me wrong. Listen, I listen to a good handful of country. I respect and love a lot of the older artists. Sad, one of the saddest things I had to experience it because we took my wife down to Kentucky to see Toby Keith. And Toby was a great performer. It's sad that he passed, but I've been blessed to see a lot of different country performers over the years, and it's because of a lot of the women that I've dated or been with were country fans. However, it's just not my go-to. I don't get in a car and start to drive and go, well, you know what? I'm going to put on even like that Brantley Gilbert album that I shot over to you one time. So I can't, it's just me personally. I need these stuff that either relaxes me in the car and makes me a more defensive driver, or I need something that's going to make me an offensive driver. And that's when we crank on the metals.
Yeah. Well, every year after Americana Fest, you listen to, I hear a lot of folk music and Americana music all week long, and it's great. It's amazing. But at the end of the week, I need a palate cleanse, so I listen to Ministry.
They're on their
Nice.
they're on their last run. They are actually on their last
Last,
run.
really? Oh
Yep.
man.
Al Jorgensen said he's going to hang it up, man.
We
It's
missed
just that he's
them.
been doing it for a while.
They were at the Ryman last year or the year before, and we didn't go, and we're idiots for missing that show.
I did not see them at Sonic Temple, and I did not see them at the local club here called the King of Clubs. And my brother actually did make the Ministry show, but I regret that I've never gotten to see them live. So
Yeah, same.
Yep. So, India, what were some of your influences, and what was the first album that you ever picked up?
So, my biggest influence is Pat Benatar,
Mm.
and her Crimes of Passion album was my first album.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
I was little. I was like six or it was my birthday. Like I think it was my sixth birthday. And my sisters and my mom, I was a latchkey kid.
Mm.
So I got home and my sisters and my mom were home. And I was like, who died? And they were like, it's your birthday. Happy birthday. And we were super poor. Like we didn't have a TV or anything, but we had a stereo. And they were like, look around the room. And I looked around the room, and leaning up against the stereo was that Crimes of Passion LP. And so that was my first album. I still have it. And
awesome.
Wow.
yeah, and I still love it. And I always tell people that Pat Benatar and Patsy Cline taught me how to sing.
I can definitely hear the influence. That's amazing. That's awesome. What a great story.
Now, since we're coming towards our roundabout end of the show, I do have to give you one of my questions. I'd imagine you've been out on the road sometime and you've maybe done a few tours or whatnot, but this is a question I ask every guest.
Mhm.
What is the craziest thing you've seen out on the road?
The craziest thing I've seen. Recently, I was at my merch table, and a man came up to the merch table and told me that he used to come to shows with his son, but his son had passed away. And I said, I'm really, really sorry about that. And he said, it's okay, he's with me in spirit and whatnot. And he said, can I show you something? And I was like, and he goes,
Okay.
hold out your hand. And I held out my hand, and he goes, no, like this. And he reaches in his pocket and he takes out a pill bottle, like a Tylenol bottle or whatever. And he opens it and he puts it on my hand like this and goes like this. And he goes, that's my son. And I
No.
had his son's ashes in my hand. So
Holy cow.
that was a very different experience than I've had in recent.
Wow.
You have literally just stepped onto the show and given us the wildest, what is the craziest thing you've seen on the road? You
Yeah,
now hold the keys to that.
yeah,
You
yeah,
have the trophies.
yeah. It was
Wow.
it was something else, and I mean everybody experiences grief differently, but a heads up would have been.
Yeah. Not surprise. Ah.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
But I wish him well, and I hope that he's finding some peace in his process.
loss is a
Absolutely.
terrible, terrible thing. This household has experienced 25 losses in the last year.
Oh my goodness, that's so. I mean, one is too many, but that's way too.
Pets, family members, aunts. It's just sister. As a matter of fact, my wife lost her sister last year. So.
I'm so
It's
sorry.
loss sucks.
It does. It does. It absolutely does.
Yep. I had a couple questions about some other songs on the album. Tell us about Never Going Back, because that was another one of my favorite, just an ass kicking song. Just beautiful.
That that was, oh, you glitched out for a minute, so I hope I'm not talking over you.
Oh,
But
sorry.
no, you're fine.
No, sorry.
Well,
Um,
Bruce is running on two potatoes and a piece of tinfoil over there. So
well,
East Tennessee, folks.
never going back is was another aftercare exercise for me. I was in the absolute throes of acute withdrawals from Klonopin when I wrote that song. And
Hmm.
I was shaking and tremoring so bad I could hardly hold the pencil in my hand. And I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified. And that's the first line of that song is I want to shed my skin, it's full of poison. And that's what I felt like. And it was just I didn't, when I was writing that song, I had no idea if I was ever going to do anything with it. I just needed to get it out. Like I needed to get it out of me. So, it's very raw and I kept it
Yeah,
that way.
I love the rawness in that song. I love the line, I want a cool drink of water instead of this piss.
Yeah, but I'm choking
And
on this. Yeah.
yeah. Oh God.
Yeah. Cause that's what it felt like, you
Mhm.
know? And yeah, like I said, it was just very raw and there was so much, I was angry.
Mhm.
I was extremely angry when I wrote that song. I was just angry at the whole situation.
Yeah. Um, it definitely, showed through it. It's just a fantastic song.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
I can tell you that I have shared not only this album but a few other songs from your discography with, I don't know, 6, 7 different friends, and every one of them says the same thing. Holy shit! Just they are absolutely blown away with your voice, with your songwriting, and I'm personally responsible for 9 new fans. You're welcome.
Hey, thank you. Thank you. We're building a little army,
That's
a
right.
little at a
The
time.
India Army.
now, before,
Um,
do you have anything else that you'd like to ask? So, what I want to get at was, is there anything else that you'd like to share with us or make us aware of? You have any dates coming up or anything like that?
I do. I'll be posting the new dates soon, but I'm super thrilled. I'm gonna get to open for Silverada at Southgate House in Newport, Kentucky. And
Nice.
they're such a great band and they're they're huge. So I'm really proud to get to open for them in July. And I'll be one of the openers at Twang Fest in St. Louis that same weekend. It's the weekend of July 24th. And the Vandaliers are the headliner on that set, and they're fantastic. If you like cowpunk and Celtic punk, you'll love the Vandaliers if you haven't heard of them.
Nice.
They're amazing.
Do you know what date that Newport, Kentucky show is? Maybe we can plan for Bruce to come up that weekend and we'll try and catch you.
It's July 24th.
What's that fall on, Bruce? Let me take a look at. Let me consult
I don't know.
the
It's the day
grand
before my
calendar.
birthday. That's all I know.
Oh, well. I mean, you couldn't beat, that for a birthday present, hanging out with India Ramey and watching a
Yeah,
great show.
Yeah,
that's
Maybe,
right.
maybe
It's July 24th and Twang Fest is July 25th.
I should drag depending on when it is what that falls on. Oh yeah, that's very possible. So the 24th in Newport, Kentucky is very possible. That's on a Thursday, dude. And
Okay.
if I have to, I'll drag Scott down because he made me go down to, or he had me get down to Cincinnati with him this past week to go see Napalm Death and the Melvins. So
Nice.
There you go.
yeah, so there could be 3 tickets, man, if you want to come up around that time to go visit mom.
There you go. We'll
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 love to
see
have
how it
you.
shakes out, my friend.
Mhm.
Absolutely. I had, I guess, two more questions about a couple other songs that I absolutely love from Shallow Graves. The first one is Keep Hope Alive, and the
Mhm.
other one is Hole in the World.
So wow, those are deep cuts, dude.
I
Hey, that's what we do.
love them.
That is what we do. When we vet an artist, we try to go through the whole discography.
Yeah, awesome. I'm glad that you love those. I wrote Keep Hope Alive about my Aunt Josephine. Um, my Aunt Josephine Outlaw. That's really her name. And Josephine is my on my dad's side. She's my dad's sister, and she passed away last year, but she had three sons, and two of them were just criminals.
Yeah.
They were in and out of prison and selling drugs, doing drugs. And Joe was just always this, constant pillar of the family and trying to hold it together and trying to do right by her sons. And there was all kinds of chaos all around her. And she was just so peaceful and sweet and forgiving. And I wanted to write a song for her. I loved my Aunt Joe. And Hole in the World, I wrote for the lead singer of a band called the Tragically Hip. And if you're not familiar with the Tragically Hip, they are Canada's band. And I had a Canadian brother-in-law that would make me mixtapes when I was in college. And when I say Canada's band, I mean that they are the Rolling Stones of Canada. Like when they were playing, they would play stadium shows, sell out stadiums all over Canada. But when they would come here, you could see them in like a 500 person venue. They
Isn't
just,
that wild?
yeah, like I don't know why they never caught on here because they're such a great band. And um, they're probably my favorite band. And my husband and I joke that the reason why we're married is because we were the only two Tragically Hip fans in the state of Alabama. And somehow we found each other. But their front man, Gord Downey, who is a genius and a poet, tragically passed away a few years ago of brain cancer. And
Mm.
it was a mass mourning in Canada. And when I woke up one morning and I went to Twitter and I saw that Gord had passed. And I was so grief stricken because I just idolized him so much as a writer and as a singer. I got up and I wrote Hole in the World. I wrote that song in about 30 minutes. And
Wow.
and I got on Facebook. Once again, never really intended to do anything with the song. I was just full of feeling. And I got on Facebook and posted it, and I ended up spending that morning and a better part of that day communicating with all these Canadians that were, remembering Gord, and we were all kind of like talking about how much we loved the music and what a great man he was. And it was just it gives me chills to think about it because it was a beautiful moment. It was one of those moments like we were talking about where music sets the vibration and then it causes the human connection and we give each
Yeah.
other it. It was wonderful.
Yeah. So everyone, please check out that entire album. Check out her entire discography, but especially those two songs.
Let
Especially.
me tell you something, man. As I sit here and think, and maybe this me being obnoxious, because I can be obnoxious.
No, what?
I think about the singer-songwriter aspect of India here, and I think about Emmy. Could you imagine these two on the same track?
Same
A
tour?
collab.
Or same. I mean, like if there was a collaboration between these two great singer-songwriters with the backgrounds that they have, what they could po possibly produce together, that would be freaking phenomenal, man.
Yeah,
I'm
India,
good collabs are something to look after.
yeah. So
do
like
you like writing songs with other people?
I don't have a dislike for it. I just rarely end up writing with anybody because I get an idea for a song and I sit down and write it.
Right.
So there's like there's no time to be like, hey, you want to write a song with me? It just like it comes out of me pretty fast and furious. But I have done a couple of co-writes and they've been fun and they've been great. It's just kind of rare.
Now, who have those co-writes been with, if you don't mind us asking?
I recently wrote a new, like a duet version of Ain't My First Rodeo with a writer named Jim McCormick.
Okay.
And I've written with my friend Sally J and my friend Skylar Gregg. And, we've sat down in my living room and written some things, but um, not anything that we put out, but just, and I'm sure there's other ones. I wrote a song with a guy named John Soloway several years ago that he put it out and I sang backup vocals on it. It's a pretty good song. I think it's called A Little Bit Broken. And there's a YouTube, I'm in the video. So just a little handful of co-writes, but I hope to do a lot of co-writes in the future. We'll see.
I've always
Absolutely.
been open to it. I've always told local guys, man, you want to bring me in on vocals or to
Yeah,
write a riff for you guys real quick. I'd love to do it. I'm not
yeah.
getting any calls.
You never know. You never know when that knock on the door will come.
That's right. Well, India, where can everyone pick up Baptized by the Blaze? Where can they pick that up?
You can pick up a copy at indiaramey.com or at one of my shows. And I just I just paid my money to repress vinyl because I only have like 45 copies left.
That's
Wow.
awesome. Now, now
So,
to this point, how many have been sold?
um, 300.
Congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
nothing to sneeze at.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean it feels good to come home with an empty merch case from a
Yeah.
road from
Now,
road.
are you doing good on the digital sales through like Bandcamp and stuff like that?
I don't even I don't even know. I don't even know. I need to go look at my Bandcamp and see. I haven't looked at it in a while, but digital spins are good. They've gone up for some reason. Like they always go way up when your album first comes out and you have, like I had like 15,000 monthly listeners or something like that. And then as the album cycle goes on, it goes down steadily down. But recently I've had an uptick of like a couple of thousand monthly listeners on Spotify. But I like a lot of people think that they're helping independent artists by not being on Spotify. But the way to help independent artists is to spin us on the digitals and buy the vinyl.
Yes.
Do both, not either.
Oh, Bruce will tell you, I land at a show 9 times out of 10, especially if I'm super into the band or I find the band to be wonderful during their set. I blow ridiculous money on merch.
Thank you. I mean, that's what, that's how we make our money because,
Mhm.
like the digital platforms are a double-edged sword because they don't pay hardly anything. They pay just like fractions of pennies, but labels, booking agents, public relations people, anybody that you're going to want on your team to help you promote your music, they look at those numbers. They're going to go straight to my monthly listeners on Spotify to see if I'm worth working with and worth
Yeah.
investing.
Yeah.
So it's really important to like, yeah, support your indie musicians by buying merch and buying their music, but also support them by spinning the shit out of out of their music on Spotify.
Well, likes and comments and everything, even on YouTube, if you've got anything set up on YouTube, anything that draws attention to you is a great thing. And that's one of the reasons that, Bruce and I kind of was like, how do people not know more about this wonderful lady who's obviously got a library, a catalog of music, and on like just really bringing back the roots of country music. I can't stress that enough.
Thank you. Thank you. That's what I want to do. I told my manager recently that I have such a deep love and a deep respect of classic and traditional country, and I don't want it to die.
Yeah.
I want to keep it alive. So I want to take it with care and reimagine it with my words and my voice and keep that vibe and that sound alive.
You're doing a
Yeah,
fantastic job.
Thank you.
absolutely. Well, India, before we let you go, we ask every special guest that comes on to give us an album to listen to, and then we talk about it on next week's show. The album can be anything from any genre. It could mean something to you. It could be
Something
anything.
something you've been listening to lately.
Something old, something new, something blue, something
Yeah.
borrowed, or something like that.
So I'm gonna say, and this album is a couple of years old,
Mhm.
but the reason why I'm gonna say this album is because it's an album that I wish more people had known about when it came out, and I wish that it had more life. It's an album by my friend Rayvon Pettis, and he is a singer songwriter. He's one of the most brilliant songwriters I think I've ever heard, and he's also a four-time. I hope I don't get this wrong. I think a four tour veteran. He's been to Afghanistan 4 or 5 times, and in the Army National.
Wow.
Yeah, and he's just one of my oldest, dearest friends. And this album is called Dying Light, and it's just the writing is incredible, and his voice is beautiful, and it's got one of my favorite Rayvon Pettis songs on it. It's called Virus, and it's a song about zombies, and it's like one of the most optimistic zombie stories you'll ever hear.
I look
You know,
forward to
I've
it.
been in the market for an optimistic zombie song.
Right? Where
I'm
are the optimistic zombie songs? And Rayvon Pettis will deliver it.
Well, before we wrap this up, uh, we know that we can find you over at indiaramey.com. I do believe you are active over on Instagram,
Very.
and I
Yeah.
think you're active. I think you mentioned earlier you're on Twitter. Are you on the Book of Faces as well? I believe you are.
I'm on the book faces, and I'm more active on Blue Sky and TikTok than I am Twitter these days.
You know
Uh,
what? That's funny you mentioned that because we're getting ready to go on break for our season finale in a couple weeks, and my goal is my daughter's going to be moving in, and I'm like, hey, look, you're going to have me help me figure out this TikTok thing for the show.
yeah, yeah, that's another, that's another way that, like, if people want to know how to support and help indie musicians is, go follow us on our social media platforms and like and comment on the post. Like when I was not doing this professionally and I was a fan, I always thought that like whatever artist it was would think I was being obnoxious or weird by commenting on their thread. That's not a thing. Comment, like even if it's a heart or whatever, like an emoji, those comments boost us in the algorithm and get our music to more and more people who haven't heard it yet. So we appreciate every like and comment.
We look forward to being able to share this and share our show with your fans because
Yeah.
we're actually fans ourselves. And it was a strange, had we never stepped in to see that show that night, we would have probably missed the bus on you. And I'm glad we didn't.
I'm glad you didn't either. And I love Southgate House. I can't wait to go back there. I mean, they've really been good to me. So I love playing there. And what a cool neighborhood and what a cool venue too. Like it's just
yeah,
that venue is my vibe. So I love
yeah.
being there.
Now, I'd like to pose one
Ab-
more thing to you that I like to pose to every guest. We are not the biggest podcast out there, but we're having a great time doing it. We've had some great guests come on. The one thing that we do is every so often we do special shows where we'll do countdowns or we'll talk about music in general with other artists and other people that we call the panel. Would you ever be interested in coming back on being part of a panel for music?
Yeah,
We'd
yeah, of
love to
course.
have you back on. You've been a wonderful guest.
Thank you. Thanks. Y'all have been so great to talk to, and it's great getting to know you and talk about music.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That you know what?
Uh,
We don't call them interviews. We call them conversations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Yep.
felt like, yeah.
All right, everyone, again, please check out the latest album, Baptized by the Blaze. Check her out on all your social media platforms, all your streaming services. She is the real deal, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you. And with that being said, I'm Tone,
I'm Bruce.
and down below there's India. We're hooked on Sonics, and we'll see you guys next week.
See ya.